What are the 3 words that describe you best? Think about that for just a second. I was having an interesting discussion the other night about the words we all use, what our choice of words say about us, the language that's specific to a family, a person, or a company, and how our language is affected by profession, situation, age, or even the weather. For instance, I've said the word reservation in my life more than most, and I find it fascinating that there's someone on planet Earth who has said the word reservation more than any other human. No way of knowing who it is. Is it Rich Melman? Maybe it's Danny Meyer? Perhaps it's a woman we've never heard of before who's been standing at the host stand of her family restaurant for 60 years, looking people dead in the eye 50 times a night and saying, got a reservation. The play Motherfucker with a Hat played here at Steppenwolf a few years ago. And because of its proximity to 2 of my restaurants, I started saying the word motherfucker a lot. Have you seen Motherfucker with a Hat yet? Are you going to Motherfucker tonight? It had never been my curse word of choice. In fact, I hardly ever said it. My mom, a deeply religious woman, had a particular disdain for that one, so it kind of stayed out of my personal dictionary. The fact that I got to say it so freely and without guilt made it kind of fun. As a diehard Cubs fan, there are many words, names, and phrases I used way too much before 2016. Heartbreak, misery, disappointment, next year, arm trouble, Bartman, wait until fill in the blank matures, stupid Cardinals, you get the idea. Just living in Chicago shapes all of our vocabularies, right? People who live in Arizona don't say shovel, cold, frozen, or turn up the heat nearly much as we do. People from Illinois also have cornered the market on phrases like governor indicted. I used to live in Nashville. They would say bless her heart quite a bit. Sometimes it meant exactly what it says, but most of the time it was the world's most polite insult. Did you see Marjorie's dress? Bless her heart. There's a lot of language specific to our industry. One guy I work with loves to say dumpster fire in reference to something that's a big problem. He uses it a great deal. Restaurant openings have a lot of dumpster fires. Servers that are overwhelmed get in the weeds. We do our best not to double seat them because this contributes to the weeds. When you dine with just one other person, to us you're simply a two-top. We love walk-ins, we hate no-shows, and we occasionally 86 the pig face when it sells out a girl on the goat. Nobody likes it when we 86 the pig face. Lee Wolin, chef and partner of Boka in Somerset, has a language that's uniquely his own. First of all, there are only 2 categories of people. You are either the best or you're the worst. And if you're the worst, he will tell you to beat it. He says beat it quite a bit. He's been known to work his hometown of Cleveland into most conversations, and it's always the best. And even when LeBron James left town, he never told him to beat it. My daughter Lola says Roblox several times a day. It appears to be a game on her iPad, but I couldn't tell you the object of the game or its purpose. My oldest daughter says different versions of the word fair a lot. Fairness is very important to her, as in, Dad, that's not fair. For the record, it's totally fair. But to a 15-year-old girl, everything in life seems unfair. I asked my son Luca what his favorite word was, and he simply said, I don't know yet. Fair enough, Luca, you're only 5 years old. He's definitely a fan of the word no, though. My business partner, Rob, says the word Canada a lot. He's a proud Canadian and loves to point out who else is from up north at every turn. Example, hey, Kevin, there's Mike Myers. Did you know he's from Canada? Yes, Rob, I did. The tumultuous world of politics have brought many Trumpisms into our lexicon. Fake news, no collusion, covfefe, bigly. It appears as though someone who has a difficult grasp of the English language can also shape its language. Our great screenwriters, on the other hand, can grasp the language and words with such panache that their small creative quotes become tied to specific imagery forever. Wax on, wax off. May the force be with you. I see dead people. I'll have what she's having. Here's looking at you, kid. What we have here is a failure to communicate. Houston, we have a problem. There's no crying in baseball. Nobody puts baby in a corner. People use words in various frequencies and degrees of success. Some people use tons of words, but end up saying nothing, while others can take complex subject matter and nail its essence with minimum wasted effort. My mom is a woman of few words, but she's dangerously efficient. In fact, her entire sex conversation with me as a teenager was, once you fire the gun, you can't retrieve the bullet. She's priceless. I treasure my conversations with my mom as I know we have numbered days, and the words we have left, we choose carefully. Words like cancer, pancreatic, chemotherapy, nausea, and now hospice have way too dominated our conversations over the past 6 months, and I do my best to steer the conversations to show words to use words that show love and gratitude. If you Google the most beautiful words in the English language, gems like sequoia come up. Fun fact, it's a 7-letter word that contains Q and all 5 vowels. Some words are just fun to say: iridescent, epiphany, illicit, serendipity. Other words like he-writhe have definitions so powerful, in this case, a homesickness for a home you can't return to or that never was, that you spend time trying to figure out how to casually drop them in a conversation. Sonder's one of those words. The realization that each passerby has a life as vivid and complex as you. We should all probably sonder more. There are certain things, emotions, and circumstances in life that have not been given a word. It's called a lexical gap. If you lose your spouse, you're a widower. If you lose your parents, you're an orphan. But if you lose a child, the 1,400-year-old English language has not created a word for you. I reserve the right to develop a word or phrase in my family or my company to fit our unique DNA, as we don't settle for lexical gaps. It's not a time to reflect that my son Luca receives when he gets in trouble. It's a time to reflect. If something happens in my family, it's magical. We call it bujagaba. Collectively cleaning the house as a family, we call powering. Sometimes when Luca doesn't want to power, he's given a time to reflect, and then bujagaba, he's fun. My company has a language all its own. You're never a VIP, you're an HP. We never forecast, we write the script. And occasionally, instead of arguing, we manipulate the end result we want to achieve. We take that language, we write out our guiding principles every year, so we know, as Simon Sinek calls it, our just cause. Positivity is contagious. Be a carrier of happiness. Happiness is an active pursuit. Will it to happen. Every difficult conversation needs a countermeasure. Balance the negative with the positive. Don't just give guests a great experience, develop a relationship. Don't ask people how they're doing with a period, ask it with a question mark. Execution needs strategy for breakfast. Inspect what you expect. Remember that it's all the small pixels that make the big, beautiful picture. See the problem, solve the problem, teach the solution. Believe in magic. Look for soul and character in others. Build things that are soulful. Be a character. Constantly take stock in where you've been, where you are, and where you want to be. It's these words that we carry with us, try to live by, and look back when we get lost. It's easy to get lost these days. At the Welcome Conference 3 years ago, they had a neuroscientist speak on the power of word usage. He talked about Ernest Hemingway winning a contest for the shortest novel. It was 6 words. For sale, baby shoes, never used. Those last 2 words change everything, right? It's a startling lesson on how 2 words can change the entire emotional response. Words themselves can change people's lives. Ordinary is one of those words that people often hate to be described as. Years ago, Bob Richards, former Olympic athlete turned motivational speaker, used to tell people, God must have loved ordinary people because he created so many of them. One of the people listening to speeches one of those days was a young Jim Valvano, future legendary coach, 16 years old at the time, who considered himself ordinary. God must have loved ordinary people because he created so many of them. The next line changed his life. Richards continued, every day ordinary people do extraordinary things. Ordinary people do extraordinary things. It changed the way he thought about that word and allowed him to believe he could transform his own ordinary conception of himself, and it changed his life. How powerful are your words? Words that saved lives, started wars, stirred great comebacks, made people fall in love, and inspired people to greatness. The power of a set of perfectly placed words to someone that desperately needs them is immeasurable in its impact. You're doing an amazing job. I know things have been challenging lately. I see how hard you're working. I just wanted to tell you that you're amazing and that I appreciate you. There was a moment in my life when I had just come off a failure in my early professional career, and I was broken and broke, and my confidence was shattered. For the first time in my life, I was considering making choices out of fear disguised as practicality. When at just the right moment, my mom said, "You were born to do this. Whatever you do, don't go backwards. You will always regret it. Keep moving forward. I love you." Those 23 magic words helped bring me to Chicago, and it's part of the reason I stand here today. What are the words that others use to describe you? At my first serious restaurant job with no real experience, I snagged a position as a captain through a fake resume. Of the 15 captains, I was by far the most inept, except for another captain named Kevin. True story. One night, a guest asked that Kevin for a Bailey's and coffee. Simple request, except poor Kevin had never heard that combination of Bailey's and coffee together before and thought the guest wanted bay leaf and coffee. He went to the kitchen, he asked for a bay leaf, and then proceeded to float the bay leaf in the man's coffee and deliver it to the table. He would forever be known at that restaurant as Bay Leaf Kevin. This made me so happy, as his own ineptitude helped mask some of my own, or at least I thought. One night, a woman came in and asked if Kevin was working to the manager, and his answer, Bay Leaf Kevin or table mess Kevin? And I was like, what? I'm table mess Kevin? It turns out I had no conception of managing, clearing, measing, or crumbing my tables, and clearly some bad self-awareness. I attended a dinner party recently where the host asked us all to use 3 words that described us at our best. My first word was unreasonable. Not unreasonable like a teenager, but George Bernard Shaw's unreasonable. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. My second word was restless. Restless in the fact that without constant change or new things on the horizon, I get itchy. And my third word was doer, the person who does something. I've always despised idle chatter, and I've always believed that toiling until you come up with a perfect idea and then not executing it is like spending years restoring an old car, finishing it, and never driving it. It's the equivalent of Cameron's dad in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He never drives it, he just wipes it with a diaper. I'd rather be like the guys in the parking garage. If you died 100 years ago, the only documentation of your thoughts, your words, your prose, your declarations might be a few letters that remain. Now we all have a social imprint. What do all your random musings on emails, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter say about you if they were all put together in one collected piece? If someone looked at this 200 years from now, what would those words say about who you are? Are you the shit starter? Are you the person who takes a stand when you believe there's injustice in the world? Do you choose those words carefully? Do your words reflect the person that you want to be? I hope it does, because it's part of the legacy you'll leave. We often create secret codes as children because a sense of belonging is so important to us when we're young. This secret code, this specific language, can give us a sense of inclusion and purpose as we get older. Giving the people in your company their own language increases loyalty and makes them feel like they're part of something bigger in a job. They're members of a club. What are those 3 words that best describe you, that describe you company? Are you okay with those words? I heard a great line in a trailer the other day. I need to control the narrative so I don't get written out of it. If you don't like the words, you can change the script. You control the narrative. Maybe the beginning of the story wasn't perfect. Maybe right now you're stuck in the middle. You could still write a great ending. Edward Thorndike said, "Colors fade, temples crumble, empires fall, but wise words endure." In this current landscape where words and truth are often devalued, use words that reach your desired emotional response, that speak your truth, that sell your intention, and that make a world of language that's your own, and that hopefully promotes love, brotherhood, sisterhood, and happiness. Your words matter. The success or failure of our hospitable intentions rely on us to frame our words in a way that make our guests feel loved, that make our employees feel appreciated, and that give our spaces a positive energy. Thank you, guys.